Welcome to Living Once Twice, a lifestyle design and personal adventure podcast. My name is Justin. Come with me as I'm here to help you chart your course for creating the fulfilling life you desire. Join me as every Wednesday we'll dive into the inspiring guest stories, remarkable science, and useful strategies to help you create the momentum you need to take action towards designing your dream life. Remember, your dream life is waiting for you. It's time to go for it. You deserve it. Greetings all and welcome back to Living Once Twice. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode, as this is the kickoff of season 3 of our liberation journey. So excited to be back behind the microphone again. September also marks the 1-year anniversary of the podcast, and I'm so grateful to each and every single one of you for your support and for your engagement with the show. There's so much that I want to dive into today, and I'm very excited, but I did want to also announce we are live on Instagram with our new Instagram page. So go to Living Once Twice, follow us there, as well as our new website. So you can go to livingoncetwice.com to catch up and stay looped in on all of our upcoming content updates. So as I reflect about the last year, which I think really resonates well with what I hope a major takeaway is throughout this season for you and I in our lifestyle design journeys, I want to focus on the aspect of taking risks, or as the kids say, you gotta shoot your shot. And there's so much to unpack there, and there's so much that I want to talk about with this topic, as I feel it's a foundational element to helping us build momentum towards rewriting our narratives, reinventing ourselves, and reimagining our lives. But before I provide a few strategies on approaches to taking risks, because for me, this whole entire journey has been a risk, I just want to emphasize the why. Like, why don't we do it? Why don't we take risks? Why don't we pursue the things that we love? Why don't we go for what yearns inside of us that's tugging away at our hearts? And I think it all boils down to because we just don't want to deal with the uncertainty or the unknown that comes with it. We've talked about it on this show, the science behind our brains, and that we are wired to search for anticipation, predictable outcomes, assurance, which winds up to us all playing it safe, especially if the threat or the possibility of pain, rejection, loss, embarrassment, or any other uncomfortable feeling or emotion is slightly present. So those feelings or those considerations can easily force us to back down from that ledge when it comes to taking a leap out on faith or betting on ourselves. And another reason I think we don't take risks goes back to also our internal narrative, whether it's we don't think we're good enough, capable enough, strong enough to do the very thing that we deep down desire to do. I'll be transparent that I've struggled with this as it relates to so many aspects of both my personal and professional journey. I mean, this creative journey and this entrepreneurial journey alone, I find myself buying into, unfortunately, my own self-doubts. For example, before truly leaning both feet into my vision for establishing this lifestyle design platform, I would constantly doubt my own abilities, saying like, Justin, this is too lofty of a goal to be achievable and realistic. Like, stick to your day job, or even telling myself that you don't have a background in writing, you don't have the technical skills, the business savvy, the financial status, or even network to make a goal or a vision like this a reality. And I feel maybe some of you out there can relate, or you're just nodding in agreement because you've repeated similar statements to discredit your own abilities, your own capabilities. And we'll dive into this act of getting into our own heads and our own way in a future episode with Amber Nutter. But this is one of those real barriers that so often keeps us stuck from thinking that we could create, we can run our own business, that we can turn that interest, that skill into a source of revenue for us, make that move to a new city that we've always dreamed of, even settle in a current situation versus risk taking or experience the risk that comes with experiencing love or companionship that you deserve and you also know deep down exists. We've just lost that inner faith, that belief in ourselves that I feel we all had it as kids before the world took it out of us. We had it in us as kids going back to when this world was our playground and we knew that we were good enough to become and imagine, experience whatever we set our imaginations to. So our lack of self-belief and that we're good enough is certainly one of those barriers that I feel holds us back once again on taking a risk in so many areas of our life. On top of that, the next reason I believe we hold back from pursuing our vision, our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, or the things that we yearn for is going back to what I mentioned earlier about the fear of uncertainty. Taking a risk isn't just related to a business endeavor, y'all. Some of us really need to shoot our shots when it comes to leaning into our authentic voice in nature. But we do live in this culture, this cancel culture, this social media and perception driven world where it can become quite easy to play small, self censor yourself, and dim your own lights. And you may have these narratives going on as I have. Okay, if I speak my mind, will people think I'm crazy? Will people talk about me? Will people judge me? Will I jeopardize this relationship or this friendship by really sharing how I truly feel and the uncertainty that comes with not knowing that reaction or that outcome? And as a recovering people pleaser, I know that struggle well. So there is so much uncertainty. Or, hey, if I take this leap of faith and pursue this business, the uncertainty of, well, will it all work out? Or if I make this move, will I be alone? Will I be successful? Will it go smoothly? If I leave this friendship or this relationship, will I reclaim or find love in the same way again? While these aren't the only reasons that I feel we elect to not take risks, I do want to highlight these as that fear of not being good enough or that fear of uncertainty can really be two major factors that hold us back. And as I highlight these, I also want to provide at least two strategies to help you and I really build our risk-taking momentum, our risk-taking muscle, because it is a muscle. Just like through physical activity, we're able to build our physical bodies. I believe we are also able to, through activities, through approaches, and through strategies in different ways, build our risk-taking muscle as well. And this is largely inspired by some readings I've been doing over the last few months, especially inspiration that came from the book Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And these are two gentlemen who wrote this book to show us how design thinking can actually help us create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling, regardless of who we are, where we are, what we do, what we've done, no matter what age it is. We can use this concept that they provide in this book to really start building a well-lived and joyful life and approach risk-taking with a whole new frame of reference. So I want to share two strategies. The first being mindset. When it comes to mindset, you all know I'm all about the inside out approach when it comes to change. And I feel that any change is going to start from within. So when it comes to risk taking, I feel the same way because in essence, we are operating internally in a deficit or a fear-based mind frame. But let's flip it. What if we looked at the potential cost of not just the risk, but the cost of not taking the risk? So what's the risk as if in the next 12 months you stay in that job without at least exploring opportunities or other options that might be fulfilling? What's the risk of staying in that situation, that relationship that is unfulfilling to you? What's the risk to your mental health, your peace of mind? What's the risk if you don't explore starting that side business or hustle that you daydream about? And I think if you think about it with the future in mind, if you just allow things to stay the same and not take a step in that direction in the next 12 months, if you think about time only goes in one direction forward. And I think we can learn from that. And if we were to move forward in the direction of our dreams, of our interests, our inner motivations, our curiosities, and at least learn something from that pursuit, it's worth the risk of not taking it. Meaning, if we were to just allow the time to come and we allow the fear to keep us stuck, unfulfilled, feeling regretful, feeling resentful because, yeah, we let another year go by that we can't get back and we're still unsatisfied with our current reality. The opportunity cost for us to not change is way too high. The opportunity cost to not give ourselves a permission to evolve into the truest, most authentic version of ourselves, it's way too high. Now, going back to our mindset about us believing we're not good enough or worthy enough to even experience what's on the other side of that risk, I'll share it essentially goes back to that process of reclaiming our inner child, that imagination driven, the world is my playground driven, that swag of self-worth and belief that we had by reminding yourself through not just affirmation that you are a powerful and creative force, but that you already have everything you need within you and you could back it up with evidence. We talked in season 1 about the power of using yet. And I want to build upon that and share once again some strategies of questioning our own inner critic that questions us. For example, you've got this idea in your mind that comes to the surface, a business idea, a passion project that you want to bring to life. But that inner critic in your mind, as I shared earlier, starts to tell you that, it's not achievable. It's not realistic. Well, let's question that critic. Why is it unrealistic? Is it something as simple as what you don't have a quote unquote business plan? And things like that is where you can examine that inner narrative further. And okay, if you realize that you don't have a business plan, well, you don't have a business plan yet. That doesn't correlate with making your idea unrealistic. Or maybe you're in a situation where you think that, okay, I can't leave this relationship because I'll never find a better partner or whatever the reasons may be. Well, question that inner critic. Why do you think you won't find love again? And maybe you think it's because of your flaws or your background. Well, question that. I mean, if it comes as simple as, well, someone found you attractive, and do your flaws really correlate to you not finding a partner? I think that's a stretch. And to go deeper into mindset shifting and transformation, I read the book, You 2.0 by Ayo Ashkawa, who's a great medium writer. And I hope someday to have him on this show because his work is just phenomenal when it comes to personal transformation. And he talks about going through this activity of writing down these narratives, these stories that we've told ourselves, that we've programmed into ourselves into believing, and then writing down evidence that disproves that story or shows that you are actually working on that quote unquote perceived flaw through statements such as, I am becoming or I am working on. And we talked about this earlier last season of being in that season of becoming. As you start to write it down and affirm yourselves with I am working on or I am becoming, you begin to re-download, reprogram these inner narratives. You begin to then activate that which lives inside of you. And I want you to realize that mindset shifts, easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But just as we develop that ability to believe in our self-doubt, we are equally capable of confronting it, examining it, and altering our own internal narrative. And listen, if you find yourself struggling with overcoming these narratives, it's okay to ask for help. I encourage you to do so. That could be connecting with a trusted friend, leveraging and leaning on your community, even going to chat with a professional, a therapist, because these thoughts, these limiting beliefs, y'all, they could be so deeply rooted and ingrained in us. And often they date back to the beginning in our childhood and those impressionable years. So we need tools, we need support, we need guidance to discover the root, once again, examine it, and reclaim our sense of self and belief in order to move going forward. Now, to complement our minds, we need to unify that action because we can't do nothing with just the insight we have. Otherwise, we're going to remain stuck and suffer from analysis paralysis by just visualizing and fantasizing about our ideal reality, but not really working on bringing it to life. So, to complement our mind shift, we really need to unify that with action. And we can't confirm or deny these perceived risks until we test it out or see, is this really what we yearn to do and become, and pursuing and leaning into this risk? Now, this does not mean that you have to take massive action by rolling the dice, cashing in all your chips, burning everything down. You can do that. And some of us out there have it in our DNA to say, hey, I'm going blindly all in, diving into the deep end without a life jacket. You can do that. And that's fine for some of us. But for those of us out there who are trying to build that risk taking muscle, you could also do so intentionally. In the book, Designing Your Life, the authors share that you could carefully and thoughtfully do the work of taking risks, getting hands on about, as they call it, prototyping or trying some things out. And in the case of your lifestyle design, this could be a way of obtaining information and insight and data, anything as you prototype and try things out that will help you to explore outside your boundaries, gain the sneak peek of the future, so that then you know if that's what you want to continue to build towards, but you're doing it in a sustainable, continual way. And now this process of prototyping and trying things out, it's going to require you to adapt a sense of having, as they refer to it in the book, a bias to action. Action, yes, it is work, but by doing this work, having the courage to try things out, once again, going outside of your comfort zone, is going to aid you in building your risk-taking muscle, overcoming lack of confidence in your capabilities, and most importantly, confirm the direction you're seeking to go, the endeavor that you're looking to embark upon, and clarify what's yearning inside of you, if it is indeed right or it needs to be examined. Now, there are countless ways to go about doing this. I mean, you can do so many different things to start on this on your own. You could prototype by not only doing like research. For example, say you want to own a business, you can start researching the field. You can learn about how entrepreneurs do it. But I think you could take it further. And I encourage you to do so. Maybe finding opportunities to get hands on in that area so you could test it out, whether it's volunteering, taking a class, and see if indeed that fire remains lit as you go through that process. Maybe your goal is to become a content creator, for example. Maybe you do so, roll your sleeves up and you start a blog and go through the process of, maybe you start a YouTube channel and go through creating some videos or even some audio work to see, once again, if that fire still remains lit based on what you learn from the process. Say, now that things are slowly starting to open up around the world, traveling internationally solo is something that's always been on your mind. Well, why not start prototyping it out? Maybe do some research on a trip, see what others have done to see what you can learn from them. Even trying it by just, booking your own local weekend trip to see how that feels, build that confidence in yourself. And I can't emphasize enough, as you go in your prototyping process, the importance of including others, the power that comes from that. Because I think the greatest resource that we have is each other. Talked about how we are interdependent. We need each other. So it's important for you to reach out for help and connect with people as you engage in this process. And I think it would be hard for us as humans, as long as we've been around, for someone out there to have already traveled a similar path that you were looking to embark upon, or could relate to some of those same struggles, concerns that you're looking to overcome. Plus, not to mention, if you surround yourselves with others, especially who embrace a level of risk taking that maybe you are seeking or wishing to embody, that community, those individuals, they will rub off on you. I remember when I first started this content creation and podcasting journey, before I long took the Terry Lomax course, which really helped me to also prototype it, I did a few things that helped me build up my momentum towards it. Because once again, I had that mental narrative that this was outside of my capabilities, my reality. Like I really needed it, I felt, to just play small and stick to my day job. But there were things that helped me build that momentum, build my voice, build my confidence in myself, whether it was starting writing LinkedIn blogs, which really helped strengthen my confidence to express myself, or starting a YouTube channel, but actually realizing, and this is one of the beauties of testing things out and prototyping, I didn't like the process of creating video content. You gotta get a haircut, you gotta be ready for all that kind of stuff. It was just not me, right? And that pivot, that learning, the data that I got actually helped me and redirected me into considering podcasting. And then I joined a podcast collective group where I got to get around other individuals, going back to that importance of community. And as I examined how I felt being around that community, I remember this sense of just inner alignment where it was like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. And around that time, I also did something in this prototyping process that I was actually quite nervous to do. This is why you gotta get out of your comfort zone. You gotta put that work in. I emailed one of my favorite content creators, Michaela Alexis, who left her job, was in the job seeking process, and she wrote about that journey, that transition, that experience in a LinkedIn post that went viral. And when I reached out to her, I wasn't expecting to hear back, but I believe within like no more than 3 days, she emailed me back. And we had this virtual chat that still blows my mind to this day. And having that conversation with her and the insight and the advice that she shared confirmed that this was still the risk worth taking. And it gave me that momentum to then take the course. And now here we are. I share all this and I lend this example that taking risk can actually be comprised of taking many 1% mini, small, calculated, intentional steps, which gives you the opportunity to continue leaning into the path that you're creating for yourself. Or maybe you learn to pivot to a different direction, or as you're on this road of risk taking, maybe it gives you the insight to just pull over on the road, regroup, and really clarify your destination before you take off again. But by adopting this approach of taking calculated risk, I believe you truly can't fail. And what I mean by that is you are making progress and then able to take what you learn from whatever the experience of it all offers, whether it is to continue the pursuit or to pivot and do something different. And as we wrap up this episode and prepare for this next season of life in the podcast, I will be asking all of our guests throughout the season about their take and their perspective on taking risks and what they've learned. And I also want to say that when we engage in this practice, you and I, we engage in this practice and create this culture of taking calculated risks, albeit in our personal or our professional lives, none of us know what's on the other side, as is life. No one knew in 2018, 19, what the last 18 months was going to look like, but yet we are still living. We still live. So embrace this journey of the practice of taking risks, becoming your more authentic self with the spirit of faith, openness, curiosity, and adventure. Because through that lens, we can allow ourselves to use risk to our benefit, to serve us, because we can then turn it into growth, clarity, knowledge, and expansion. And that all brings us closer to activating and experiencing the most fulfilling, liberation, and authentic life possible. So I thank you all again. That's it for today's show. I appreciate your presence for tuning in and joining me, supporting me on this journey we are all on. If you enjoyed this episode, please show your support by sharing the Living Once Twice podcast on Instagram, LinkedIn, or wherever, leaving us a review on iTunes, which I appreciate on that. As I mentioned earlier on, be sure to give us a follow on IG at Living Once Twice, or go to the livingoncetwice.com website for more content updates. Reaching out to you all through the time and the space that separates us to say, remember, your dream life is waiting for you. Go for it. You deserve it. Catch you later on Living Once Twice.